Today, we want to teach you how to make a classic Cantonese dish, Daliang stir-fried milk. Now, I know, if you're like a lot of people, your very first reaction to this dish might be that you didn't know that you could stir-fry milk. But I promise you, though, that this will all make sense after you delve into it. Just think of this as sort of a hybrid between a scrambled egg white and a bechamel that's thickened to about the consistency of a scrambled egg white. It ends up rich, creamy, and outrageously delicious. But getting there does take a bit of technique. So, to get started with Daliang stir-fried milk, you'll need milk. And traditionally, here in Daliang at least, that milk always meant buffalo milk. See, while the whole region south of Guangzhou was historically renowned for its food production, there was one pocket in particular called Jinbang where the soil just wasn't so good. So the people there took to the water buffalo trade, supplying the surrounding counties. And even though the water buffalo in China are swamp water buffalo, which produce a lot less milk, being a livestock town meant that Jinbang still had more than its fair share of dairy. And while some attribute the dairy culture in this corner of Guangdong to the Brits, it's pretty clear that it predates their arrival. People were writing poems about Jinbang's famed cheese since before the Opium Wars. But of course, unless you happen to live in, like, Campania or northern India, you probably don't have easy access to water buffalo milk, which at 13% fat clocks in well richer than cow milk. So while we will be using some bog-standard 4% cow milk today, we'll be supplementing that with cream, settling on a ratio of about 2 parts or 160 grams of milk to roughly 1 part or 75 grams of heavy cream. Then the second leg of our stir-fried milk, the egg white. We use the white of 4 eggs here, settling down on a quantity of about 130 grams. As an aside, Steph here is saving those egg yolks by curing them, which we'll cover in a future video. Then the final leg is the starch, cornstarch specifically. This was just 13 grams worth, mixed with enough of the milk mixture so that it just comes together. Then you can set that aside. Now for the add-ins. There's a lot of different directions that people go with this dish, but usually it'll have some sort of seafood component. Here we went with shrimp, which we prepared in a sort of banquet presentation today, so we'll get back to that in just a second. A second common addition is some Jinhua ham, which I do know is basically impossible to source outside China. So instead, we used 50 grams of char siu barbecue pork cut into 1 centimeter cubes. Feel free to go liberal with any potential pork subs though. Any not smoked pork product should also work perfectly well here. Then besides that, we'll also use a tablespoon and a half of peas for color and crunch, blanched for about 1 minute, and top things off with some roasted slivered almonds. Full disclosure though, those slivered almonds are also another substitute. Usually you'll see this dish topped with lanren, aka Indian almonds. Now, not only these are, I'm pretty sure, almost impossible to get in the West, even here in China these days they are outrageously expensive. So we decided to go with some slivered almonds instead, roasted in an oven for about 3 minutes at 180 centigrade. But right, back to the shrimp. We used 250 grams of fresh shell-on shrimp, which we prepped in a restaurant sort of style. To do so, first shell your shrimp, and while we will be butterflying these later, personally I find it easiest to take out the digestive tract when removing the head. Now, like a lot of sea creatures, shrimp have this thin layer of slime on them to protect from parasites and such, and it's that slime that can make shrimp a little mushy when cooking shell off. So for juicier, crunchier shrimp, leave them under running water for 10 to 15 minutes to rinse that stuff right off. Now, whenever we rinse shrimp on this channel, we inevitably get a legion of commenters complaining about wasting water. First, come on guys, not everywhere in the world is California. Here in Guangdong, we get plenty of water. Of course, if you are in California, you can alternatively let the shrimp soak in still water together with a splash of kansui or sodium carbonate, which will serve much the same function. After that time then, remove the shrimp and transfer them over to a kitchen towel. We need to make sure these shrimp are really dry, and this process will also help remove any leftover slime on the surface. So then just transfer them over to a cutting board and optionally butterfly them. Again, we're kind of going the whole 9 yards here, and don't feel obliged to walk this mile, but butterflying them will help make everything feel all fancy, while also getting out any potential leftovers from the vein. So now marinate those with a 1/4 teaspoon salt, a 1/4 teaspoon sugar, a sprinkle of white pepper powder, a 1/4 teaspoon liaojiu aka Shaoxing wine, give that all a good mix, then coat with about a 1/2 teaspoon of oil and set that aside for about 10 minutes. Now, we'll be passing those shrimp through oil, kind of. With this small quantity here, we can get away with just giving them a brief oily stir fry instead. So over a high flame, heat up about 1/3 of a cup of oil till it's bubbling around a pair of chopsticks, then toss in the shrimp. Give those a quick stir fry for about 30 seconds, then dip them out, let them drain, and your shrimp are good to go. Now back to our milk. Traditionally, the buffalo milk would first get heated and carefully mixed with the egg whites and the starch so that everything combines evenly. For us, though, we'll just be lazy 21st century cooks and add all our stuff to a blender. This will accomplish much the same thing in the end. Then just season that with a half teaspoon salt, half teaspoon sugar, quarter teaspoon white pepper powder, and a quarter teaspoon MSG. Give that a 10-second blitz, then pour it out into a bowl. Now, forgive us for staying in our poorly lit kitchen for the stir frying. There's going to be a few different moving pieces here. But, of course, before you do anything though, first, lang yao. Get that wok piping hot, shut off the heat, and add in the oil. Here we're going in with about 3 tablespoons worth of lard. So then, over a medium-high flame, heat that up till it's bubbling around a pair of chopsticks. Then add in your blended egg milk mixture. This will quickly set around the sides, so scrape off the set bit, move the wok off the flame, and reserve that on a separate plate. Now put the wok back on the flame, let it cook for about 15 seconds, and slowly swirl it around. And repeat. Give it a couple scrapes to remove the cook bits, reserving them on your plate. Those reserved scrape bits have got a real nice look and mouthfeel to them, so we'll be using them to top the final dish. You know your milk will be ready for a scraping when you can see little bubbles forming on the surface like so. I personally aim for about 6 scraped sections in total. So now add in all of your add-ins, optionally reserving a bit of them for garnish, and scooch those up the side of the wok a bit. Then just let that cook for another 15 seconds or so. Then scrape and fold the cook bits up and over your add-ins. Repeat that process a couple times, tilting the wok as you go so that the liquid drips down into the hot center. Then once there's none left, that is good to plate. So, take your milk and lay it gently on your serving plate, preferably on something larger than this. Then take your scrape bits and lay them gently on top. Then just toss on any of your optional reserved shrimp and peas, and sprinkle your almonds all over everything. And with that, your stir-fried milk is done.
So if you want to make the cured egg yolks, I've seen some people online discussing it in English, but they will use a ton of salt and sugar to brine it. If you want to use less salt, you can try the direct sand drying method. We'll have some notes for you in the description box. And of course, very soon we also want to make a video for how to make the Chinese style salted eggs. So check out the red link in the description box for a detailed recipe. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon, and of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.